Welcome back, everybody. These are the best horror films of 1974. Let's check out all the latest horror films that scared the entire country in 1974. We got some blockbusters, some chills, thrills, and we got some scary ones, some corny and cheesy films. But these are the best horror films that came out. These are all the horror films that came out in 1974. All right, let's check them out. We're going to have a lot of fun here. Let's see what was scaring audiences worldwide in 1974. All the Kind Strangers. A man traveling through a backwoods area is held hostage by a group of orphans who want him to become their father. All the Kind Strangers. Don't Hang Up. In this horror movie, a dutiful granddaughter goes home to take care of her elderly grandmother. Once there, she finds herself trapped inside the house with a homicidal maniac. The Ghost Galleon. The living corpse of the Satan-worshipping Knights Templar hunt for human victims in a 16th century galleon. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. An Okinawan prophecy appears to foretell Earth's destruction at the hands of Godzilla. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. One of the scariest films that came out was It's Alive. The Davies are expecting a baby, which turns out to be a monster with a nasty habit of killing people. It's Alive. Killer Bees. A strong-willed woman not only dominates her family of California wine growers, but also has a strange hold on a colony of bees in her vineyard. Santo and Blue Demon versus Dr. Frankenstein, the Mexican wrestlers. The Santo and Blue Demon team up with a couple of detectives to stop the granddaughter of Dr. Frankenstein. The House of Skull Mountain. Murders occur at the southern estate of a voodoo priestess when 4 relatives gather to hear her will. House of the Living Dead. On a South African plantation, a maniac is on the loose, first killing the estate's animals, then starting on the human members. Next up we have is Act of Vengeance. A group of women take a martial arts class to punish a sadistic serial rapist who wears a hockey mask. Oh, is this pre-Jason? Pre-Jason? Next up we have is Beyond the Door. Juliet Mills plays a young pregnant woman in San Francisco who is going to have the devil's baby during her strange possession. Beyond the Door. Another famous horror film, Black Christmas. During their Christmas break, a group of sorority girls are stalked by a stranger. Black Christmas. Next up we have is Legacy of Satan. A satanic cult chooses an unwitting young girl as its new queen. Legacy of Satan. Next up we have is the spine-tingling chiller, Blood for Dracula. An ailing vampire count travels to Italy with his servant to find a bride. Blood for Dracula. Next up we have is Blue Blood. An unusually nasty butler takes over the possessions of his degenerate master by means of witchcraft. Blue Blood. Next up we have is Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter. A master swordsman and former soldier and his hunchback assistant hunt vampires. Next up we have is the spine-tingling Corpse Eaters. A story of zombies eating freshly killed humans. Corpse Eaters. If you like zombies, this movie's for you. Next up we have is Craze. A nighty antiques dealer starts to sacrifice women to an African idol. Craze. This is a thriller and horror. Next up we have is the classic Dead of Night. A young soldier killed in the Vietnam War inexplicably shows up at his family home on the night of his death. Dead of night. Fangs. A lonely old man who loves snakes starts killing his friends and the townsfolk. Fangs. Fangs will not disappoint. Next up we have is Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell. Baron Frankenstein works with a mental patient to reanimate the dead. Frankenstein and the Monster of Hell. Frightmare. After escaping a death sentence for her hideous crimes, a seemingly rehabilitated woman settles in an isolated farmhouse with her husband. Frightmare. Next up we have is From Beyond the Grave. An anthology of 4 short horror stories revolving around a mysterious antique shop owner and his antique pieces, each of which hides a deadly secret. Ghost Story. Several old college friends converge at a mansion, ostensibly for a pleasant reunion. One by one, people die. Who is killing them? Help me, I'm possessed. Horror. A mad doctor runs a sanitarium in the desert, where his hunchback servant whips women who are chained in the basement and cuts the legs off their bodies. Homebodies. 6 elderly people living in a condemned small tenement building will do anything not to relocate, including murder. Next up we have is the classic Horror High. A shock-filled tale of a serious and shy but brilliant science student who, when wrongfully forced to consume a new drug he created, becomes a modern Dr. Jekyll. A Knife for the Ladies. A private detective travels out west to investigate the murders of several prostitutes. A Knife of the Ladies. Next up we have is Madhouse. A horror movie star returns to his famous role after years in a mental institution, but the character seems to be committing murders independent of his will. Madhouse. Moonchild. A young artist spends the night at a mysterious inn where he meets a group of strange, sullen people, among them the innkeeper's beautiful daughter. Moonchild. Old Dracula. In order to revive his long hibernating bride, Vampira Count Dracula takes blood samples from several beautiful models. Old Dracula. People Toys. After 5 insane children are involved in a van wreck, they start killing people at a lodge who insulted them or were rude to them. People Toys. Phase 4. Suddenly, desert ants form a group intelligence and wage war on the humans. It's up to a couple of scientists and a girl to stop them. Son of Dracula. Due to be crowned king of the netherworld by his mentor Merlin, at a monsters convention countdown, the son of Dracula falls in love with the beautiful human Amber. Sugar Hill. When her boyfriend is murdered by mobsters, Sugar Hill decides not to get mad, but bad. Sugar Hill faces mobsters and monsters. Those were the horror films that scared audiences worldwide in 1974. There are a lot of Dracula movies, some zombie movies in there. Have you seen any of these movies that came out in 1974? As you can see now, the horror genre is getting good. It's catering to the young audience, and people love gore and slashers. And this is 1974, so we're seeing more killings. And if you look back and watch them, this is 1974. This is already 50 years ago. These movies were fun. They're dynamic. Yes, they're kind of cheesy looking back, but when they came out in 74, audiences in the theaters or drive-ins were covering their eyes. They were having a blast. Horror movies are to scare you and to have fun. It's like a roller coaster, the thrill of it. It takes you from highs and lows to the kill to the adrenaline pumping. So those are the horror films of 1974, the best horror films of 1974 that scared us. Let me know if there's any movies that I may have left out in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.